obviously having a personal trainer background and a physical therapy background, like how do you refer to yourself? Like that's something that a lot of PTs struggle with when they're trying to bridge the gap. Like how do you describe yourself?
Yeah, this was a conversation that I had with one of my early CIs because he does something very much the same. I said, when is it personal training? When is it physical therapy? And he said, I have a lot of hats, but I never take any of them off.
Mm,
So, it's not like you ever stop being a physical therapist. You never stop being a strength coach or a personal trainer. You just take care of the person that's in front of you. So I refer to myself a lot as a human movement expert because that's what we really should be. That's what the APTA says we are. They just also throw this physical therapy title on top of it. So if I only look at myself in one way, I'm doing a disservice to my clients. We know the more research comes out, the psychosocial has a huge factor. The nutrition has a huge factor. All sleep has a huge factor on healing and pain. So you have to look at the person as a whole. Otherwise, you're doing a disservice.
yeah, and I think with having success in that area, I think it starts with communicating how you're able to do so. And I love just calling it a human movement expert, right? And I think that's something that most people, no matter what their background is, can get a better understanding of exactly what you do. Because still, most people, when you say physical therapist, don't really quite know what it is. Unfortunately, again, it's still, to some people in our country, it's like, oh, well, that's the thing that you go to after surgery, right?
Right.
But a human movement expert, pretty much most people can say, okay, now I understand more about what you do. So I love that. Like, take us more into like to help other practice owners. Like, how have you been able to do so? What tips would you give to someone who's really trying to provide like that more of that wellness side of things, that wellness type of program? What do you think?
I'd say if you don't have the background, get one. The CSCS is probably the gold standard for strength coaches. That's one that you could go to. It's a little bit more pricey, but there are also tons of other personal training certificates. Just find one that fits your budget and fits your desires, and that just gives you a little bit more deep dive into the advanced like programming and periodization of a strength program. And I think that's a little necessary because a lot of our DPT programs really don't cover that in depth, at least from what I've heard and from what I've seen with myself. It's kind of like we know how to do things to help with pain and to strengthen in the short term, but what do you do over 6 months to a year, and how do we adjust variables depending on that? So that gives you a lot more background to then progress what we've already done in the clinic. Because if you just keep going at the clinic level, for the most part, you got to change it up to get them up to 100%, 110% of what they want to do.
Yeah.
So that's big. But then also networking within the community. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing if I hadn't met the relationships that I have in the gym. They were very open. But if I would have just said, I don't want to work for someone, I'm a physical therapist, I don't want to be deemed a personal trainer, I never would have approached them. And just, it's just being open to opportunities and open to networking within the community.
Yeah, that's where most businesses always start. So what's the conversation that you have for people in the clinic when you're transitioning them over to like personal training and more of the wellness side of things?
Mm-hmm. So the conversation normally is revolved around them having goals that are attainable, but not necessarily with the equipment we have in the gym. Or if they have other, post surgery, you lose a lot of muscle mass, you might potentially gain some weight. So insurance is never going to pay, at least in our realm, for, weight loss. So I can't justify it there. But I know that there's more I can do for this person if they just stay with me. So that's where we have this conversation. Let's transfer you to a different facility. You'll still be working with me because I know your background. I know your history. We'll work around the injuries you have to continue to progress your other more holistic goals that you have. It's no longer the goal of, I want to decrease pain no greater than 2 out of 10. I want this range of motion. It's, let's get you playing pickleball again. Let's get you back on the golf course. Let's do, lose 10 pounds. And we just address those things while continuing to adapt the programming that I'm giving them to either continue to address those needs that they had physical therapy for, or to at least maintain where they're at with those.
Yeah. So when they transition from the clinic that you're at right now and working technically with you as a physical therapist, and they transition to this wellness side of things, do they switch locations? Like do they or no?
They do, but it's not like I'm taking them from the clinic. It's they're discharged at that point. So I don't work with them until they're officially discharged. There's been a couple select cases where I have, but I was working with them as a personal trainer for another aspect. Post-surgical knee, while we know we can still work the upper body, they had goals that related to strengthen the upper body. So we'll do specifically that. And then you're in PT for the lower body. But yeah, normally you are discharged from the PT clinic, and then the gym that I train out of is not associated with the clinic. So they follow me to that site, and that's where we work with them.
Yeah, I love it, man. And I think that we all have to get towards this side of starting to bridge the gap and stopping and stopping making physical therapy be, 6 visits, get somebody out of pain, and then they're discharged. Because we both know, both of us have a strength training background, that you need a long time. You need, at least 8 to 12 weeks to be able to gain some significant strength with someone, right? So,
Yeah.
in a lot of ways across the country, we're doing patients a disservice by just, trying to get them out of pain as quickly as possible and not addressing the strength component as well.